chance, do you destroy the world? And how many dead eyes can you look into before you die inside yourself?
Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be my new Justice League Snyder Cut trailer video. Zack Snyder was also revealing some really big details about plans that he had to actually put Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern in the movie, so I'll explain what was going on with that, because that's actually a pretty big deal. We actually thought that it was a joke a while ago, but turns out he seriously actually talked to Ryan Reynolds about putting him in the movie. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. The movie's coming this week, so I'll be doing a bunch more videos for it later through the rest of the week. What I'll do is I'll talk about the Green Lantern stuff first because that's such a huge deal. Then I'll talk about this new footage because Darkseid is going around killing all of the different Justice League members and you have the Joker narrating it all. But just a little while ago, Ryan Reynolds was joking because of St. Patrick's Day. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to drink a whole bunch of the gin that I own. He owns a gin company called Aviation Gin. And watch the Green Lantern movie for the first time because turns out he's never actually watched the theatrical cut of the Green Lantern film. I probably wouldn't have wanted to watch it too if I'd have been him. But you remember all the talk about him supposedly being in the movie last year. There was this big rumor that was going around, and then Ryan Reynolds came out and said, you know what, I'm not in the film, I'm not going to be playing Hawkman in the Black Adam film, but I'm really excited to see it. Then just as a joke, he posted a video to his Twitter that he was calling the Green Lantern Ryan Reynolds cut, where he did like this funny parody supercut of Green Lantern with a bunch of Deadpool 2 footage. He photoshopped Tom Cruise's face onto his face, so like Tom Cruise was in his version of the Green Lantern film. Then he edited his Green Lantern, a version of himself, into the Justice League theatrical cut. So everyone kind of took that to mean that he wasn't going to be in the film. Like, okay, this rumor turned out to not be a thing. But just this past day, Zack Snyder came out and explained that he was actually originally supposed to be in the movie. He had this big idea to swap Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern into the Snyder Cut. This is the clip of him talking about that.
There was another idea I had for the Green Lantern that wasn't Ryan. And so I thought that if we had gone down this path of Green Lantern, I would have had to have Ryan as the additional lantern.
Got it. So it could have been, maybe he would have been there as well as other lanterns, perhaps.
As well as another lantern that would have been, but that's another story.
So what he's saying there is that he was deciding on what to add to the movie when they decided that they were actually going to do the Snyder Cut and they greenlit it. There were a bunch of things that he added to the Snyder Cut that originally were not supposed to be in his theatrical cut, like new stuff that he only just thought of when they started working on the Snyder Cut. Best example of that is the Jared Leto Joker scenes. There was never going to be any Joker in Zack Snyder's original version of the theatrical cut, but because years later we'd never gotten to see Ben Affleck's Batman share any scenes with his version of the Joker, Jared Leto's Joker, Zack Snyder said that he wanted to pay that off. But the scene that he's talking about for Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern that would have been in the Snyder Cut, he would have been the other Green Lantern in a very particular scene. What he's talking about is that he would have replaced another Green Lantern that was already there with Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern, like Photoshop you out, Photoshop Ryan Reynolds in. And I believe the scene that he was talking about was supposed to happen at the end of the movie, like a post-credit scene or an end-credit scene, and two Green Lanterns were coming to visit Batman at his lake house. Originally, I believe they were supposed to be Kilowog and Tomar-Re, and they would have warned him about Darkseid, the forces of Apocalypse, and they would have started developing a plan for the Green Lantern Corps to come help them out, team up with the Justice League, and then they would have paid that off in the Justice League sequels. This is the actual storyboard from, I think it was Justice League 3, where the full Green Lantern Corps rolls in like the cavalry with every lantern you've ever heard of to help them finally just kick Darkseid off the planet. Zack Snyder also talked about the Justice League sequels too. He actually confirmed one of my theories that I talked about in an earlier video, so I'll explain that later in the video. So had Ryan Reynolds actually wound up being in the movie, it would have been him and Kilowog's Green Lanterns coming to visit Batman at the end of the film. But I believe what happened with the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern stuff is that either Ryan Reynolds wasn't available when they needed him to do this, or he just politely declined because he didn't actually want to play Green Lantern again. And I believe what wound up happening after that is Zack Snyder changed this Green Lantern ending scene with Kilowog and Tomar-Re to the Martian Manhunter scene that was actually in the last big trailer. The scene you see here where it looks like Superman's coming to Batman's lake house with the sunlight behind him, I believe that's actually supposed to be Martian Manhunter at the end of the movie. As for the other Martian Manhunter stuff in the film, I believe it's also since been confirmed that in the previous scene here of Martha Wayne, where her eyes are glowing red, it's really supposed to be Martian Manhunter or Martha Manhunter disguising himself so that he can go check on either Superman or Lois Lane. And eventually, he explains to them through the course of the film how he's been living on Earth this whole time, for a long time, just watching humans and trying to influence things in a positive direction from behind the scenes, by being this General Stanwyck persona the whole time. Like, you go back to the Man of Steel film, so this is Martian Manhunter. He's been living as Stanwyck for a long, long time, just rising through the ranks of the military into a position of great authority. I believe the idea is that he just didn't trust humans to fully reveal himself as an alien with superpowers, and it was the coming of Superman in the Man of Steel movie and Batman v Superman that really turned him around on that. Like, there was that line of dialogue in one of the other trailers where he talks about how it's time for him to step out of the shadows because he cares about humanity so much at this point. Zack Snyder showed off storyboards with his character that go back years, like really old storyboards, so I'm assuming that means he always planned on the Martian Manhunter twist in his version of the theatrical cut when they were still going to be making the sequels, and Martian Manhunter would have become a bigger character during the sequels. But just talking about the new footage of Darkseid going around killing all the Justice League members, obviously big WTF twist in this trailer. All the Joker's narration is coming during the Knightmare scene because that's when his scenes take place. It's kind of like a whole Knightmare timeline trailer, in fact, with all the footage of Darkseid going around killing the different members in this post-apocalyptic future. Speaking of Joker, too, Zack Snyder revealed that it was Jared Leto himself who ad-libbed the "We Live in a Society" line, for those of you who are wondering where that line came from in that previous trailer. But the Joker's first line about violence in this new trailer gets cut off a little mid-sentence, but then he asks, "Do you destroy the world?" as he goes around killing different members. How many dead eyes can you look into before you die on the inside yourself? So it sounds like he's talking to Batman during the speech as they're cutting it with the footage of the different League members. But it's Aquaman that's the first to go in Atlantis. This is from that same scene of Darkseid with the Omega beams that I was talking about a couple days ago. So it seems like that's how he's able to get Aquaman. Like, he incapacitates him with the Omega beams, then spears him with his mother's trident. Everyone press F to pay respects to the Justice League. This is now confirmed to be Wonder Woman's funeral pyre, and Hippolyta, the other Amazons, are burning her body after Darkseid kills her in some other scene. Then when Joker is talking about dying on the inside, you see the scene of him behind Superman, like he puts his hand on Superman's shoulder while Superman is crying, cradling someone's burned body in what looks like a version of the Batcave. This is probably supposed to be the moment where Darkseid is able to turn Superman evil using the anti-life equation, and the whole thing that Flash time traveled back to warn Batman about during the events of Batman v Superman. You notice Flash is even wearing the same future time travel suit in this other Knightmare footage. The reports from a couple years ago said that originally what the idea was is that Darkseid is going to come kill Lois Lane instead of trying to directly just kill Superman, because he wanted to use Superman's power to help conquer the Earth. But in order to do that, because Superman was so powerful, he had to break him emotionally first so that he loses all hope. Like, what does the S stand for? It stands for hope. Big Man of Steel callback. And the way that Darkseid was going to do that was to kill Lois Lane. Kill the thing that he cared about most, leading to the events of this Knightmare scene where Batman watches as he comes to kill him on Darkseid's orders. Then in the Justice League sequels, we were going to see the Flash in the future develop the time travel plan with Cyborg, the other surviving Justice League members like Batman. Then in Justice League 2, Justice League 3, they start the new timeline where Batman is able to save Lois Lane in the past so that Superman never falls to Darkseid's influence, and that gives them the edge they need to defeat him with the help of eventually the Green Lantern Corps rolling in. But the big theory that I posted on my Twitter the other day, Zack Snyder actually confirmed, and it was all about the Justice League sequels. So he said openly that the studio, Warner Brothers and AT&T, don't seem like they have any interest in actually turning those into real movies. You know, who knows, never say never. It's always possible they could change their minds down the road. But initially my thought was because they spent so much time developing this story, and Jim Lee himself, one of the best comic book artists of all time, had spent so much time drawing all these storyboards and mapping this story out with Zack Snyder, why don't they just turn it into a big comic book series? So you still get the story, it's just in a different format. Zack Snyder explained that originally he and Jim Lee were going to do that. They were actually going to do the sequels as a big comic book series, like a really long-running comic book series. He also said he was going to pay off the whole Batman, Dead Robin, and Joker storyline in a separate comic book, probably with Jim Lee as well. But what ended up happening is a couple years ago when they were going to start doing that project is that the AT&T buyout happened. Like, they basically bought out Time Warner, and while that was happening, whatever executives at AT&T basically canceled that project. He said now he's actually hopeful that at some point they'll get to eventually do that. So it does sound like even if we don't get to see them make those Justice League sequels, you'll still get to see that story play out in a big comic book. But because we know what that story is, like we have all those storyboards, I'll actually do a separate video about that sometime later this week or next week after I do some more Justice League Snyder Cut videos when people have a chance to actually watch the movie. I believe the movie is supposed to be dropping midnight tonight on HBO Max, at least by midnight. It could be dropping a little bit earlier. My first video for that will post Thursday morning, and then my Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 1 video will post Friday, and then after that, I'll just try to get through all my Justice League Snyder Cut and other Falcon and Winter Soldier videos. So there's a lot of really cool stuff coming from all over the place in the next week or so. Make sure you have alerts enabled for my channel so you don't miss any of those videos. While you wait for everything, click here for that brand new Falcon and Winter Soldier Episode 1 trailer video, and click here for that brand new Godzilla vs. Kong trailer video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys tonight.